In this series of 3 videos, I intend to show you exactly why Rey is not a Skywalker by analyzing her Horseback vision. This is the second video in that series, and in the last video, we looked at previous fan theories stating that either Kylo Ren or Luke Skywalker were responsible for Rey ending up on Jakku following the destruction of Luke's new Jedi Order approximately 15 years prior to the events in The Force Awakens. Recall that the Bloodline novel, which occurred 6 years before the Awakening, debunked those theories because at that time, Luke's Jedi Order was still intact and Ben Solo had not yet turned to the dark side and become Kylo Ren. In this video, we're going to delve deeper into Rey's vision and explain why Anakin's lightsaber called out to her in the first place. Hey Star Wars fans, this is Urban Acolytes and my name is Prince. This video is going to explain why Rey had her Horseback vision. See, on a previous video called The 10 Reasons Rey is Not Luke Skywalker's Daughter, a number of people commented on the fact that Anakin's lightsaber called out to Rey, and that proves that she's Luke's daughter. The thing is that we actually have seen an instance where a Jedi's lightsaber called out to someone Force sensitive, and the two of them were not related at all. So on more than one occasion, I pointed out that everything we've seen happen with Rey also happened on Star Wars Rebels with Ezra Bridger. Both Rey and Ezra appear to have been orphaned at an early age. Both of them scavenge items. They both seem to collect old helmets, and most importantly, they both experience their call to adventure when a Jedi's lightsaber calls to them. Now, when I say the call to adventure, I'm referring to Joseph Campbell's heroic journey, and you can learn more about the hero's journey in Joseph Campbell's Hero with 1,000 Faces. See, George Lucas was actually inspired by that book, and he based Luke Skywalker's story on Joseph Campbell's formula for the hero's journey. Now, getting back to what I was saying, the call to adventure is the start of the hero's journey, and the initial call is always rejected by the hero. We see it with Ezra when he's initially asked to accompany the Ghost Crew on their first mission in the Spark of Rebellion episode on Star Wars Rebels. And we see it with Rey when Maz initially offers her Luke's lightsaber. And we even see it with Finn when he's initially asked to complete Poe's mission by taking BB-8 to the Resistance base. See, Ezra was called to accept Kanan as his Jedi Master to be trained in the Force and to join the Rebel cell on Lothal. And Finn was called to join the Resistance and take up arms against the First Order. And Rey, well, Rey's character from the initial concept when she was still called Kira was called to take up the quest of finding Luke Skywalker and bringing him into the fight against the Imperial Remnant, which is now called the First Order. So why did the lightsaber call to Rey? Because it was literally her call to adventure, and she rejected it. Just like Luke initially rejected his call to be trained as a Jedi and fight the Empire with Obi-Wan Kenobi when he was offered the exact same lightsaber. So do you understand where I'm going? Luke rejected the call to accept his Excalibur, and Rey, it was her job to find Luke, and she rejected the exact same magic sword that wanted her to find the person who came before her, the person who will serve as the wise mentor on her own hero's journey. Now let's touch on why Rey experienced the Horseback vision. See, the truth is that this was not the Force Awakening in Rey. This was the first time the audience saw Rey have a vision, and it may have even been the first time Rey experienced a vision that affected her to the degree that this one did. But after reading Rey's survival guide, I'm inclined to believe that Rey has had experiences when touching objects before. See, according to Rey's survival guide, Rey could always figure out how a machine fit together or why it had broken. And the Force Awakens visual dictionary describes Rey as a gifted mechanic who seemingly has an innate sense of how machinery fits together and functions. And see, when I read that line from Rey's survival guide, I initially thought that Rey may have an ability similar to Mace Windu's Shatterpoint ability. But instead of knowing the Shatterpoint, Rey may know how to fix machines, people, or situations, all through the Force. And later, it occurred to me that Rey may have psychometry. And psychometry is a psychic ability in which a person can sense or read the history of an object by touching it. Such a person can receive impressions from an object by holding it in his or in their hands, or perhaps touching it to their forehead. And such impressions can be perceived as images, sounds, smells, tastes, or even emotions. The Jedi Quinlan Vos had psychometric abilities, and his ability made him a gifted tracker, as he could hold an item such as his fallen master's lightsaber and be able to tell something about how his master fell in battle to Asajj Ventress, and he could experience the emotions his master experienced when he last held that lightsaber in combat. See, sometimes people possessing psychometric abilities gain access to other abilities, like the knowledge or skills to repair broken starships, just like Rey did with a group of scavengers prior to the events in The Force Awakens. And that's in the Before The Force Awakens novel. Rey's psychometric abilities could account for how she's quickly able to learn non-human languages, like speaking to Wookiees, Tito's, and Astromech Binary. And this ability could even play a part in Rey's own identity, as she's seen wearing the Rebel flight helmet of Captain Dosmet Rey, and she has more than likely scavenged parts from the fallen Super Star Destroyer of Admiral Rey Sloane. Now, I realize that my earlier statement about Rey's vision not being her awakening is going to cause some confusion. And see, the visual dictionary says that the cosmic force has been dormant ever since the disappearance of Luke Skywalker. The adventures of Finn and Rey coincide with a turbulence in the cosmic force, and a sudden ripple is indicating an awakening of newfound ability. Now, what this means is this. See, it's been 50 years since the Jedi Purge. So for the last 50 years, there have been children of the Force born who either had to go into hiding, join the Empire, or face execution during the time of the Empire. After the fall of the Empire, we don't know what happened, as we have no idea how many acolytes were part of Luke's new order. So when we pick up with The Force Awakens, there are Force-sensitive people scattered throughout the galaxy, but all knowledge of the Force and how to access it is lost to the point that very few people even believe the Force exists. So the tremor in the Force, the real awakening, it's the heroes that we see starting to become more aware of the Force, like Rey having her vision that we're talking about in this series, or Finn hearing the voices of billions cry out in terror before falling silent. So I wanted to make sure I cleared that up before I end this video. But before I go, I'd like to hear from all of you. Why do you think Anakin's lightsaber called out to Rey? And do you believe Rey's vision was because she has psychometry? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments section below. Also, in my next video, I'm going to go back through Rey's vision, all 3 versions. And yes, there are actually 3 different versions of her vision, and I'm going to give my own interpretation of that vision. And this is something I've been waiting to say since I started doing Star Wars videos back in December. So I'm excited to finally let it all out of the bag. And if you haven't subscribed already, go ahead and click on the subscribe button below to take your first steps toward becoming an Urban Acolyte. And while you wait for my next video in this series on Rey's visions to post, be sure to go back and check out the first video in this series if you haven't seen it yet. You should also check out my other video on how Kylo Ren could bring back the Sith Order. I'm going to be posting a follow-up to that video on Friday. Well, that's all I've got for now, so thanks for watching. Y'all keep on breathing, and may the Force be with you. Bye.